Friday queuing episode 8. This is a slightly unprepared version, so we've rushed to get it ready. I've pulled an idea out the bag which I haven't told everyone about yet. So we're going to just have a go and hope it goes okay, given that we were sort of very last minute on this. So we've decided to use PHP. We have that up on the screen. I've created a little project with a little test suite, and we are going to do a kata. Now, it's going to be a little bit different from other times because we're going to redo the kata several times, and it is going to be a firm favorite classic kata. So we're going to do FizzBuzz. So we have FizzBuzz experts here. The kata doesn't need explaining, but for people watching, maybe you don't know what FizzBuzz is. So we ultimately are going to build a program that you give it a number, an integer number. If the number is divisible by 3, then it returns the string fizz. If it's divisible by 5, you return the string buzz. And if it's divisible by 3 and 5, then you return the string FizzBuzz. So the fizz then buzz. And if it's not divisible by 3 or 5, then you just return the original integer as a string. So that's it. We have people, I think everyone on this call has probably done this multiple times. So I think the first attempt we should probably fly through pretty quickly. So this one is just going to be a little warm up. So I'm just going to say go, do the TDD, maybe ping pong it or something like that, so that everyone gets a bit engaged, gets their fingers warmed up, and just talk us through what you're doing. Go.
Okay. Action. So should we ping pong it? Should we write a test, hand it over, implement, write a test, and just go around the circle?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Shall I write the first test?
Go for it.
Feel free to kill what's already there.
Yeah, cool. So you suggested it takes a number and returns the number. Okay, cool. So I'm going to start with 1. So test 1 turns a string. That. So instead of do it, I will call the function FizzBuzz. Set.
Equals.
Should be same. That's triple equals, isn't it? So 1. Cool. Happy with that test?
Looks all right to me.
Excellent. And oh god. Okay. So who wants to implement the first bit?
Go Billie.
Go Billie.
Rory needs to absorb the PHP language. So
okay.
Give him a minute.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to hover my mouse over this, and it says Billie because I don't have things. So I guess should I make the method?
Yep.
No.
You might have to do it all manually because code with me.
Oh, no.
Do you want me to create the method?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No, it's fine. I'll just do it.
Oh.
Let's see. Is it FizzBuzz? Oh no. And then it's like Billie. Is it $?
Yeah.
And does anyone? And it's an int. And is it a number?
I think the int goes before.
Oh. Like that?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I
And
think
then
so. And then colon.
How do I do a union
And then
type?
string. Oh. Yeah. Is that
Cool.
I think so. Yellow.
And then Fizz. Is that right?
No, 1 in this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a whole load of errors on the types.
We have. Are they on your side as well,
no.
Tom?
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you know what it is? It's not. You're all right. It's just the project isn't set for the right PHP version. I don't think.
You're on 5.4
Okay.
like a cool kid.
Yeah. Let's just find if where's the project settings.
Also, not sure that's you seem to have a rogue character there, Billy, in your return state.
Oh yeah. Oh, shit.
Sorry, it is int, not integer, I think.
Okay, right. So I'm going to run the test now
There you go.
and see if this passes. Hey.
Cool.
Nice.
Right. I guess I'll write the next test, which is what? Like, should I do a different number? Like,
Yeah. Continue with non-fizzy buzzy numbers.
okay. So if I I'll do what? 2 returns a string. Why? What's going on here? I'm gonna stop following you, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, let me follow you while you're. There you go.
Test 2 returns 0. 2 and 2. And I can run the tests, prove that it fails, and it does. Fantastic.
Cool.
Who's up next? Tom or Rory?
I'm just going to watch. So.
Okay.
I'm happy to go. So, well, we could do this as a conditional if we want. Do we feel it's time to do this as like a so? Let's just see. So if this is the format, if interesting, or just the way round I did that, or
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. Not a complaint.
Okay.
they are all passing.
Nice.
Okay. Do you want to do one more? Non-one?
Yeah, go on.
We can maybe get this.
So 3 is Fizz, 5
Yeah.
is Buzz, 15 is FizzBuzz.
So
Oh yes. Do we want to do 4 then? And do the string conversion? Or...
let's do. I think do 4 first,
Okay. Yes. No, you're right.
just to get this bit sorted.
And yeah, we have a failing test.
Excellent.
I think it's marked then.
It is. So I am going to. I'm going to speed things up. I'm going to go straight for the string conversion. So I think the answer is string.
Cool.
I think. God, I'm feeling rusty.
PHP, maybe?
I think it's like an old style C cast, isn't it? You put the brackets around the string.
Oh. Yeah. It's you're right. It is. It's not a function, it's a
Oh, hang on.
Is
Yeah.
it capital S for string then?
No, what is it?
no, it's just
String
like
in brackets.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am. Steve.
Probably
Oi.
yeah, you could do that. You could probably just quote it. Probably would have been nicer. But yeah.
Okay. So I shall Go for the 3 now. 3 turns fizz. Three.
If you don't mind, once that runs, I'm just going to kill. I'll let you make it green, but let's get rid of that. Do it because it's serving no purpose.
Okay. Right now, there we go. Billie, over to you. I'll follow you.
Okay. So if I run the tests, yeah, okay. I'm just going to work in an if value equals 3, return fizz. Right, let's do it. Cool. Run. Let's have a look. So the next test. Do we fancy? Should I do another fizz?
Yeah.
Let's do mistakes. And we've got a failing test.
Yep.
Go for it, Rory.
Sure. Well, we could do modulus, or we could do another if. I don't know if our rule is it going to be if it's 3 times.
So you could do an or rather than the second if.
Yeah.
We're not doing modulus yet. Look at us jumping ahead like
Is it
people.
what is the or? Is it that?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. A 9. It's sorted. You're up.
Okay. So I will go for the modulus then. So divide by 3 equals 0. That. Right. E. Let's pass. So let's go on to Buzz. Five returns Buzz. Okay, failing. Over to you, Billie.
Sweet. Let's do this. So, if value is equal to 5, then return Buzz. I know that's but. Let's run the tests. Hey, and they're good. Click over to here, chuck in the next one, which is 10. And let's run tests, see if they're failing. And they failed. Great. Rory, you're up.
I am indeed. So I think we're stick with what works. But now we're not gonna do 15 though, because that's not right. So we're gonna do 20.
Ooh.
Because otherwise, if it's 15, it's going to be FizzBuzz. So
Okay,
the Mark gets the fun bit.
I do. All the glory.
So we have quite a little modulus.
Hey. Okay. So now we need to do divisible by 5 and 3 for FizzBuzz. So as Rory just suggested, 15. That would be FizzBuzz. 15. Save. Run. Okay, failing. Over to you, Billy.
Cool, let's do this. Wonder what I'm gonna put in here.
I don't know.
Maybe I
I
should
noticed we've not done copy and paste. You got a funny character for the dollar.
Oh, it's a section symbol.
Okay.
Equals 15 and we're done. FizzBuzz. And the test is passing, so I guess what, 30?
Yep.
Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let me have a look at this.
Mark, I think Billy might be off the bottom of the screen. Can you follow?
Oh yeah, sorry, Billy.
Okay, there we go. And let's run it again. And the test is failing. But I can't actually see why. It says initializing test. So we'll know. Ah, there we go. Phil, yeah, okay, great. It didn't work. You're up next, Mark. Oh no, sorry, Rory.
I'm tempted to give it to Mark just because I get to do this bit.
Well, that's interesting because you've decided to do 3 tests per case. It means that you each do the same one.
Yes, it's quite funny actually. Like we've specialized in the type of test we can write. Mark does modulus. Billy does a hard coding, and I do an OR, and then it's.
I'm just so glad I could introduce you to the modulus functionality.
I think
it's really useful, isn't it?
I think that's too advanced for me, frankly. It's just beyond.
Interestingly, I think I normally do 2 tests per case, so it's interesting.
I don't know.
3.
Okay, there we are.
Okay.
I've done this kata so often that like feels a bit odd.
I've got some bad news for you. I'm going to give to you in a minute, Billy.
We haven't discussed refactoring at all.
No.
Is it because we don't have access to refactoring tools? Oh, we do. The refactoring works in.
Even if we don't have refactoring tools, we can refactor.
No, I know, but refactoring tools just make it a little bit quicker, don't they?
So we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done in terms of the ask, right? So let's have a kind of a little retro. So first of all, any pros or cons? I mean, Billie's already said done this one to death.
I mean, what we haven't got is what happens if you add in another number.
Yeah.
This is not a very good solution.
Good, great. Okay, we've just skipped one of the questions I was going to ask.
Yeah. So we haven't got like if you add 0 or.
Well, actually, I meant if you added 7 or something as another thing, as another letter, and you had to do 3 and 7 and 5 and 7 and all those combinations. Because at the moment we'd have to do every single one.
Yeah. I think for the 2 criteria, I actually prefer this sort of like really linear thing rather than making like a queue or a stack or whatever and pushing onto it.
Yeah.
And joining.
Cool. So, if there's no other thoughts, here's the bad news, Billie. Let's do it again. So in the folder we got something called second attempt, and it's got a property-based testing framework. So I was going to I've been pondering on whether or not to do this like full freedom, but I think I'm going to give a little bit more of a criteria. So I want to do this with property-based testing. So I want to do each rule at a time. So the number that if it's 3, it returns, or divisible by 3, it returns fizz. If it's divisible by 5, it returns buzz. But I don't want it to be quite that. The string must contain it, right? So if we do 3, it contains fizz. 5, it contains buzz, and that automatically covers the 3 and 5, right? But you might have to write a test to make sure it's the right way around. Okay. And then obviously you need a property as well for not divisible by 3 or 5. So for people that are not familiar with property-based testing, you have the system under test take some inputs and return something, and the property-based testing framework will fire a whole load of random numbers or random inputs at the thing under test. So what we'll say here is we'll say, it will expect the result to return a string that contains a fizz, for example, and we'll throw in lots of numbers that are multiples of 3.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So new thing, and the same as before. So we're keeping the TDD kind of approach in that as we write that first property, we want to implement as little as possible to get us there.
Okay.
So there's a few constraints there that are more than just go for it, but I want to see what happens. I want to see what comes out.
So do we need a new, like a second attempt class as well?
May as well. Or you could do another method in there, whatever you want.
Let's do the second attempt class. Let's start from a clean station.
To start with one of the words for this first, rather than the default case, because it's easier.
Oh,
Do you need me to add it?
yes, please, because that action is not available in JetBrains client yet.
Hang on, a new class called second attempt. Looks good. Hopefully it's going to put it in the right namespace. I think that's good. Yeah, that looks
Cool.
Cool. So what are we going to do test first? We're going to
I'd like to.
Go on.
I'd definitely like to test fizz or buzz first. Fizz, maybe.
Test fizz first. Okay. Okay. Actually, go on. As you've suggested, we write fizz. Do you want to write the test first?
Yeah, okay. Are we going in the same order, or are we gonna?
Yeah, why not? Let's continue the order, but.
Okay, so if I do what? Test assert contains. And then if I do what we've got, function number plus number. So in this case, we want it contains fizz.
Yeah.
And we're going to call, we don't have a subject under test. Does a subject under test go in here or outside? I guess it doesn't matter because it's stateless. Instance equals second attempt. I need a new key.
Yeah.
And then instance, what do we call it last time? FizzBuzz.
Yeah.
And then it'd be a number times by 3.
So before,
hang on, I need to add a user.
So before implementing this, because I'm assuming that's failing, and before implementing this, does everyone understand what that testing framework is doing? Anyone need to talk through it? Maybe just talk through it just for anyone that's watching.
But I would appreciate it if you went over it again.
Okay. Do you want me to do that?
Go for it, Mark.
So I'm going to talk through the test. So we've got, obviously, first thing we're doing, creating instances of the class, which is under the code under the test. Then here we're using so basically the for all is just going to loop through whatever comes back from generators int, which is going to just be I'm guessing an array, a collection of random integers. Okay. So this is where the property-based testing is just throwing random integers at us, and we loop through. And what we're doing here in the test is we're taking those. So we're on the code under test. We're calling the FizzBuzz function with whatever random number comes out and timesing it by 3. Giving us basically, that means any number that goes into our function should be divisible by 3. So whether if 1 comes out, obviously it passes in 3. If 100 comes out, it passes in 300, but they're both divisible by 3. So anything that goes into this function should be divisible by 3. And then we've just got our normal assertion kind of here, checking that everything that comes out will be fizz.
Yeah. So the generator is going to generate an int. That int's going to be passed into the function as a number, maybe 100 times. It's got an out to bound threshold. I have no idea what that is all about. What does that mean? It didn't do that when I.
That's fine.
What was that? Is that?
Does contains work with strings, or is it only arrays?
Yeah, maybe. But even though that error still doesn't quite make sense to me.
It said, could we do something like, is it not like string contains string or something?
Okay, see if there is an assertion for that.
String contains string?
I don't think that
string.
It's string contained, but I don't think that's the error. Give it a go. It might be that it also might be that FizzBuzz, if you define FizzBuzz so that the parameter has an int parameter, it might be something weird to do with that as well. It might be that it doesn't know the type. I think that's highly unlikely, but
you can do regex expressions as well.
Okay.
So
should we at least add the go on? Try adding the function at least.
Try adding the function and typing it. I don't think that's it, but let's just try it. I think it's something to do with, because that number was fine before, because the error is on the then, right? But a minute ago it worked, and I think it stopped working when we added the rules. Okay, it's working now, is it?
Okay.
Right, giving it actual.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. So I still don't know what it's. I'm still seeing that error on my screen, but I don't know what it means.
Okay.
Anyway, who knows?
Cool. Shall I make that pass? We've changed the order. Or do you want to make it pass Rory and keep the order?
Make it pass. Go on.
I can try and make it pass. So, go straight away to return Fizz. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. But then another one. I mean, if we just go to test buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, it might be a little interesting. Confirm that is indeed failing.
Did you change the? Oh, you did. Cool. Sorry, I couldn't see.
Okay.
That's back to me. So I shall do. If value brackets.
It's weird using a language where you have to use those.
Yeah. Just hang on, bear with me. Well, so this now, so it feels like I have to go straight for modulus because I don't know what number's coming in, but I know it will be divisible by 5.
How about something else? Let's see. What does anyone else think?
Well, what you'll also have to do is you'll have to deal with the edge case if you'll have to do the build up like stack thing or build up a string because you're jumping straight. Because like 15, it needs to pass both tests, for instance.
But we haven't got. We will need to do that eventually. But at the moment, it's just 3s and 5, like divisible by 3 or divisible by 5.
But if you have an early enter,
why don't we add in? So how I would do it is I'd do the modulus thing, and then I would look at at least what happens.
Can I throw another option at you?
Oh.
What happens if you return the string buzz fizz?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I guess because it'll pass for everything.
oh, that is interesting.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter, does it? So So should I write a test now for FizzBuzz? The next.
I guess that's the question about the random numbers. Like if the random number generated is 5, then you need FizzBuzz in the earlier one.
What do you mean?
If test fizz, when you have the int generator, and it generates the number 5, I guess the expected thing would still be.
Normally, there's some facility to reject numbers which are reject a generated value.
Or maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
I think it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter because it's still yes, it should be FizzBuzz, but the test is we're ignoring it for that case. If that makes sense.
I guess concern.
So kind of like the test is because what we're adding an explicit test for each case, and yes, and that's I think why Tom suggested the contains rather than the equals, because that way, yes, and 5 times 3 should be FizzBuzz, but it also should just be fizz because fizz should exist, and then the same for buzz. If you got 3 when you were timesing, as the number, the same case, but we do it. So then we do the FizzBuzz one.
I'm just wondering what the test is we're going to do to make sure we only get fizz and not buzz when we don't need both. That's all.
Times by 15.
Yeah, that was my thought. But does that...
That doesn't... I don't know if that solves my problem.
Are there any... Does 15... Is that going to cover all of the cases?
I think you should do 15.
Is there a better way of doing it? I can't think of a better way.
I mean, if you run it, it should fail. So
yeah. Okay,
cool.
Testing to you, Billy.
What are we doing here?
Well, you could just change the string and it will pass.
Yes, it will.
It's really simple.
All right, let's do that. Okay, cool. Let's do this. So what I'm going to do now...
So I mean, we need some sort of, I don't know, we need some sort of test which says like only fizz is returned and not buzz. Or...
I assume that somewhere in here there is like a skip or something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think my mic just died then. Yeah. So there is. If you want to skip numbers, there's a such that. I can talk through that if you go for that. However.
Wait. What's the such that thing? We'll finish. Sorry.
So at the moment we've created a property to say that if it's fizz, it contains fizz, and if it's buzz, if it's divisible by 3, it contains fizz, and divisible by 5 takes buzz. And we've got our FizzBuzz one, so that's ensured that the fizz comes before the buzz. Happy days. So now, like, what we've got to do is force fizz out if the number's not divisible by 5 or by 3. That would be my approach here. So I'd write a test that says, string does not contain fizz if number is not divisible by 5. And what you can do, if you want to do that, you can have a generator that says generate me all ints such that the number generated is not divisible.
Oh, is it like that?
No, I'm reading the docs. I probably should have tried this before. I did. I can share the docs, but it's basically you have you do for all, and then instead of generator int, you do generator such that.
Like
exactly.
And then okay, I see.
Yeah, and then the first parameter to such that is a predicate, so a function that returns true based on your case, and then the second function is another generator. So you put the generator int as the second one, and the first function will be like your check of that value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think there's a short syntax, isn't there? But I've forgotten what it is.
Yeah, I remember. Return value. Are we gonna do like just the default root, or are we gonna do not divisible by 3? I think I would rather do not divisible by 3 or 5 in one go and just say it's the default path. But
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that for.
Should it be not equals?
Yeah, it should be not equals. Yeah.
Let me go switch to the. No, it's just. Nope. I thought there'd be a nice reflector there. Okay, so this should just be. Can you remember the number, the to string? There's like a inline. Oh, you just drop it in, don't you? Yeah. That should fail.
Just.
I think there's.
I
think there's a solution to this one as well, which still gets to where you want to be.
Okay, so I'll do that one. So if we do a conditional,
Rory, there's still a more simple, painful version of this.
Yeah, you just edit the string, Rory.
Oh no. Can I just do dollar value?
Yeah.
Oh no, I do not like that. Well, this is hilarious. This is really funny.
Should we improve the test then? So that it.
Yeah. Well, is there like? Well, we could change from contained strings to equals.
I was about to say, yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
I'm keeping the contains as a prerequisite, but you are allowed to use does not assert not contains.
Okay.
Okay. Shall I update this test or write a new one? I think maybe update this one.
I think we should update one of the other property tests.
Yeah.
Because I think we
Could we do something on the fizz test, starting with the fizz test at least, where we don't let a number through that's divisible by 3 as well?
I want to go back on what I just said about the adding it into this thing, because it's a property of it being divisible by 5 or 3 that it doesn't contain the number. Like
yeah.
If you did a such that on test fizz, you could do a such that the original number is not divisible by 5, and then it would work. And then you could do an assert does not contain string, maybe.
But what you're effectively saying there is the property that a string contains fizz, if it's divisible by 3, doesn't hold for numbers that are divisible by 3 and 5, right? So if you change the name of that function from test fizz to test numbers divisible by 3 contain fizz, then that still is true for numbers that contain 3 and 5. So by filtering 5 out, you're kind of invalidating the property.
Yeah.
Maybe. So then what? Do you do another test called test fizz only or something?
But I think Billie's point was quite interesting, where you want to check that the string does not contain the number, because we know that is that's part of the property. Is it whatever the number is that's divisible by 3 should contain fizz, but cannot contain the number.
I'd argue it's another property.
Okay.
Like the inverse property is another property, right?
Yeah.
So if it contains 3, then if it's divisible by 3, then it contains fizz. But also you've got the inverse property, which is if it's not divisible by 3, then it does not contain fizz.
I don't think we need to even have the number 3 in it. We just need to say if it's got numbers in it, then it's only got numbers in it, and if it's got text in it, it's only got text.
That's a cool one. I like that one.
Okay. How do I write that?
It's another property. I think it's a abundant property, and I'm happy to go down this route, but I don't think it's a necessary property. I think if you negate the fizz property and the buzz property, then you cover everything.
What, in the default path test?
No, No, so another test.
Oh,
so
another test.
If you go up to, if you look at the one that says test, what is it? Test numbers divisible. So the first one, test fizz. If you rename that test to test numbers divisible by 3, return a string containing fizz.
Okay, so you want me to rename this test. So
I'm just gonna give you the test and then let you decide whether or not you want to go down this route. And now think of the opposite of that.
So test numbers not divisible by 3 do not contain fizz.
Okay. So if we did another test next to it.
Yeah.
I think Billie's test, you're going to need something to push the number out at some point. So I think Billie's test is actually, I think that is the
best one to copy.
To get the number out as well. So I think you need both.
Take that last test and rejig that one a bit.
Okay, so this test, what do we call this? Test numbers. Also, can someone tell me how to spell divisible? What have I got wrong?
Oh, hang on, do we want to keep that test? Or have you copied and you already copy and pasted it, sorry. Yeah.
Test numbers
not divisible by 3 do not contain fizz.
Test numbers do not contain fizz. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of that bit.
Yeah.
And then assert string. What is it? Assert string does not contain string.
I think it'd be something like that. Yeah, you might have to.
It's probably
start typing.
I think the not probably comes after the assert, and assert not string. Hang on, you got to spell assert properly.
That is true. Although actually we're still working, so it's quite. Assert not contains.
Not string. Looking not string contains or string not contains.
Assert
string. That's it. Yeah, that one.
Not contain string.
That's weird.
It is weird, but they were probably that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that seemed to fail.
Okay, let's have a look. Check it fails how I'm expecting it to. Yeah, there you go. Asserting that FizzBuzz 1 does not contain fizz.
Nice.
How many numbers does it generate here?
A lot.
So I could do something like if value divided by 3 does not equal 0. Return value. Then delete it from. Ooh.
No, I think you're going to have to do.
Or is this when I do actually just do if it is divisible by 3, return fizz.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen because you might get failures on the 5 because if you give it 3 goes into the fizz one, it's expecting it to contain buzz, but now it's gonna. Oh, I was thinking if it ends up as the number 15 being tested, then what's going to happen here is it will just return it fizz and then it will fail.
Yeah, I think this is gonna. Yeah, I think we've almost coded ourselves into a corner.
Yeah. I also I wonder if you wanted to return.
Yeah.
I wonder if. The thing is, it's so easy to fix this.
What? Just copy and paste the code from the last test.
Yeah. Like, it's not.
Like, I wonder if we've tested ourselves into a corner at this point.
So
And
what we want,
whether we should have actually, I don't know.
It depends, right? Like we can just fix it, right?
Yeah. So I could do something like and not divisible by 5. Like,
you could do the build up a string thing. That's the other way to do this. As in, if it contains, like, have an start with an empty string, and if it contains modulus 3 equals 0, add fizz to it.
Yeah,
that's one way of doing it. But I don't know.
It'd be a lot of change. I think that's the problem. Is that's a lot of change. Whereas I think if we did and sort of value not equal 5 is not equal 0.
You can also look. Let's see what that does. But you can also look at it from the other way around.
Yeah.
Ooh, what failed?
Don't know.
FizzBuzz 1 does not contain fizz.
Yeah. So what you can look at it the other way around, right? Like if it's not divisible by 3, it must just return line 12 without the fizz in it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
No, so you're thinking what we do fizz. We do buzz value then, maybe, and then.
But that basically is what he's suggesting.
No,
I think.
no, you still need line 12 in there. You still needed line 12 as it was.
Did I?
Yeah, yeah. So you got to return the same thing you were returning a minute ago. But you got to take the fizz out of line 10.
Ah.
Yeah, so we return buzz value.
But I would like if that passes.
Yeah, let's see. Yes.
So you can push on with the 5 and come up with something similar. But I think like in the like there's a refactor phase here, right? Like add a test, make it pass, refactor, and I think that we're in the interest of not changing too much, but now we're into the refactoring phase that maybe moving to a string mechanism might make sense. I don't know. Or we could just try the 5, but I don't know that the 5 might be tricky because there's an interplay between the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jesus, that's weird. Okay.
Because you could have. Yeah, so you could do the string way. Have an empty string.
And build it up.
Yeah, add the fizz, and then.
Or you can just carry on down this route. Either way.
I don't think it's a big deal to chuck in and like. Wait, what?
Sorry.
That's nice.
Sorry, Billy. Did you?
How is the fizz test passing?
Which one?
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Never mind. Isn't there property which says that we are? So if 3, it doesn't contain fizz.
Yeah,
I guess
it's making this pass, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any number that's not divisible by 3 returns buzz and the value.
So which means all our buzz pluses pass, and all our 15 tests will pass because it will go straight to FizzBuzz.
Yeah.
Just isn't it? I would be tempted to chuck in buzz then or something. Huh?
What, do the next test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could refactor, but like, I think this is probably one of the flaws that always irritates me with FizzBuzz, is that it's so little code that the value in moving in small safe steps is like so negligible. Like you could. I bet everyone here could write FizzBuzz without any tests, without making any mistakes, and still come up with the same implementation here. So it is sort of like, what aspects, like what's the driven part of the of this doing for us at the moment?
Yeah,
it's 100% a learning exercise, and you know, the point here is the discussion is like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
what do we get out of it? What difference does it make?
and it's quite interesting that property based testing has been mentioned, I think, in most of our streams at some point. So actually forcing us to use it was quite a nice touch.
I've got one more if we've got time after this.
What I didn't hear you there, so I'm sorry, I really did miss that. What did you say?
I've got one more version.
No, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
10 more versions, Mark. 10.
Didn't hear a word there. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So
you will be doing this for the rest of your life.
I mean, every interview I've been in has suggested that this is what I need to be able to do.
Yeah.
Okay. The test is failing.
Did you do the not contains buzz one? Is that what you just
Yes. Did? Yeah. So I added the So there you go, Billy. Over to you.
Okay. So buzz 1 does not contain. Oh, I'm surprised. Oh, buzz -1. Okay, that makes sense. So what we've got here is value is not equal to 3. So I'm going to leave this in place for a second. No?
No, I'm going.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this and say if 5 is not equal to 0, then just return buzz. I guess if it is equal to 0.
What?
Oh, this isn't going to work, is it?
You're going to have to do fizz. Wouldn't that be fizz value? Or
yeah, still saying buzz contains. I done the wrong one. Oh, Jesus Christ! Sorry. Buzz. No, if it's not equal to 5, then the string should not contain buzz. Okay, right. So if it's not equal to, if not divisible by 5, then it should be a fizz value. There we go.
yeah, I'm not sure. Thing is, what happens when you get 15? Oh wait, no, 15 should be fine, but it will be.
Failed setting fizz 1 does not. Yeah, so this is 15, I guess.
Oh no, that's not. Sorry, I'm not sure.
It's 1.
Yeah,
it's 1. Because what it.
Oh right, yeah, because.
Oh yeah, because it's 1 times 3, and then it goes.
Yeah.
Is that not okay?
Can we just not do it backwards? Like, why can't we just change this to be like 3, and then 5, and then it equals 0? Like, you know.
Because the FizzBuzz test will start failing, won't it? The 15 will start failing.
Yeah.
All start failing. Fail the setting that fizz contains buzz. So we got all our tests backwards.
No, I think this is because what that will have done is produced something like the number 15 at the end of it, and therefore it's not testing for FizzBuzz in that test. It's just testing for the presence of buzz.
Okay.
So I just this is where it gets really. I don't really.
What? Like,
I mean, we can do that. I just don't know if we're.
I mean, you could literally throw the whole lot away and rewrite the thing from scratch.
Yes. Quite easy.
yeah.
With
Quite easy.
doing that at this point, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of be keen to do that because we intentionally fucked ourselves over right earlier on because we were trying to teach ourselves that the test cases weren't great.
Yeah,
and that led us down a path where it's a pain in the ass to move forwards. So
yeah. I mean, my take on it is a bit different. For me, I think at this step, I mean, we've moved quite a long way away from the code now, so it's gone that. For me, this step would have been either negating the 15 at the top, but I think it would have, like what I find with this journey is that probably at the point that fizz came in, I probably would have made that change that Rory suggested and moved to like string adding, because that if you go back one step, so if you take the 3, so what did we just add? We tried to add the 5 one. So if we take that 13 if statement out,
right,
so back to there.
Right.
If we comment out the new test we've just entered, so that I think that's all green, right? We were there.
Yes.
So if we make the refactor at that point where we take the result, right? So we say take the result. So at the top of line 8, we say result equals empty string.
We could even do result equals string of value at this point because it's still.
Yeah, you could do. You could even do string of value buzz. Yeah, do string of value buzz. So buzz value. No, that's not going to work. Sorry, delete that. String, empty string. Let's do empty string. I think empty string.
Okay.
And then in the, hang on, empty.
No,
You got empty string. Yeah, empty string there. That one then becomes add. That if it's mod divisible by 3, then you append fizz onto that result.
You can.
I mean, maybe this is as big a change as the one we were talking about, and then just at the bottom one, just return result followed by buzz value. That was right. Plus. Oh no, dot.
No, dot equals.
And then, so what do I do at this point?
We'll just replace the fizz with value. Just a fizz with result. Sorry. And you probably need to put.
Yeah.
So I mean, that feels. I know it's a big change, but I do that in the refactor phase.
Yep.
And then that next one is super easy, right? But I don't know. Like I was intrigued because what we were ultimately doing with the other one was implementing FizzBuzz backwards. We were doing all the knots instead of, which is interesting because it works.
Yeah.
But it's backwards to the rules, which I think forces me to think actually this isn't describing what I'm trying to do.
I think the sort of
Okay.
I think that like it somewhat for me makes you kind of look at test-driven development and go, well, actually, test-driven development isn't so much about writing a bunch of tests which drive out development of the code. It's about knowing which way you need to implement things in order to move in small steps. So it's because if you're someone who's new coming to test-driven development, or any direction, any way of implementing the code is going to be fine.
Yeah.
But yes.
Who just made that change?
I did, because I'm up next after Billie.
Yeah.
So that works. The only other test we want is we probably want to write a. Can I do 2 expectations in a single test?
You can, yeah.
Okay, so can I do assert contains string? Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I don't know if people are okay with this. Assert contains assert.
So what, you're just forcing the number out of all of them?
Yeah. No, actually, I'm forcing that.
Oh,
I think that.
Yeah, you could do.
That should pass, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, because we've got the value hard coded in there on line 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to get a failing test. Ooh,
No,
why did that pass?
because you need to do the opposite. You need to do does not contain number in the fizz and the buzz tests.
Oh, yeah, you're quite right. That was the wrong way around.
But that was where we were discussing. I think I'd suggested that, and Tom was like, "Well, not really, because that's a different property."
So what are we thinking?
I think you can also negate the property, that exact property, so you can do exactly the same thing. So where it said divisible by 3 and 5 is if sorry, where was the number 1?
What you mean, this one?
So we've done not divisible by. So we've done if it's not divisible by 3, then it returns. Hang on, Scott. Where was the one that you were just looking at? The default path.
The default path is just
Yes.
So I think it's you could. So it depends on how we want to do it, but the two tests below this one, which is the numbers not divisible by 3 do not contain fizz.
Yeah.
So you could have like there's a opportunity here to do fizz and the number, or you could do another test which would be numbers not divisible by 3 do not contain the value or something like that.
Yeah.
I would for speed I would just do it in the same test.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you can't. What if they get the number 5? Then they should be getting buzz. And maybe that doesn't matter.
If it contains fizz, it shouldn't contain the number. So you could just.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you could go back to.
It doesn't contain fizz. It might just contain buzz instead.
Billie also ran the test earlier on, didn't you? He said if it can only ever return a number on its own, like if it's a number, there can't be anything else in the string.
Yeah.
And I think you can also negate the default path somehow. So if you look at the default path test, there's an opposite version to that, right? Which is if a result is divisible by 3 or is divisible by 5, then it does not contain the number.
The number. Yeah.
But
Okay, so maybe we do that. So something. What would we call this, do we think?
What makes a good property?
good question.
It's a really good question. Yeah.
Would this be something like test? Okay, so this is an or for a start.
We've like the good primary properties here are the original ones, right? Like if it's divisible by 3, then it's whatever, because those are the requirements that we came in. The other the negations of those are kind of like secondary properties. They've been there to enforce the primary. We've added those to enforce the primary.
Yeah, it's an implicit property because it's.
Yeah,
I suppose
that's what the right wording is.
Is part of the answer to this if we were actually writing these tests as property-based tests without the restriction of contains. We'd have probably done this like the implementation would have been.
Maybe
we'd have needed less tests, probably.
I think that the reason I'll tell. Let's just let Rory finish this, and then I'll tell you why.
I think is it because what we got here is divisible. Return ones that are either divisible by 3 or 5, and then we assert they do not contain the string number.
Yeah, the only problem is line 51. You've got not equals as. They need to be equals as.
Oh, yeah. That should fail. I think Mark, take it away.
Okay. I'm trying to think the best way to do this.
I mean,
do something like if I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. If result equals empty string. I just do empty, can't I? Let's do that.
value, isn't it?
I just want to turn result.
Yeah. Let me come along.
Hold on. Thing. Yeah.
Yay.
Cool.
Cool.
Strings accepted. Oh,
So I suppose another way I could have, I think, done it would be set the result to value originally and then not added this dot.
Yeah, no, because that doesn't work.
No, it wouldn't work. No, because there's I'll ignore myself. Thank you.
can you move $3 on line 20 inside the screen base? Because it's got warning.
What was that, Billy? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The dollar should be next to the word value, not on the left of the squiggly on line 20.
Wow, you've gone proper robot for some reason.
You have like that.
Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
So the reason I did the contains was because it was going back to Rory's point about scaling it out, right? Like if you wanted a FizzBuzz bang, woof, meow, right? Then if you keep adding those tests for those, not only do you have to add a test for those cases, but you have to think of every possible combination. So there's like fizz bang and buzz bang and FizzBuzz bang, and you have to look at all of them. Whereas when you look at the description, the properties, like the properties aren't necessarily about that. Like you can say, okay, it just contains bang, and you have to have the test to ensure they're in the right order, but you wouldn't have to write so many tests. That said, you probably break it down once you've started going too big anyway, right?
That's why I dislike doing the negations of properties, because you end up with all of the cases are interdependent on all the properties are interdependent on every other property. So like if you look in the test on line 51, like what we're saying, resolved by 5 or 3 do not contain number, that's implicitly stating that we have all of the other properties listed in our test, which like is probably a way of doing it, but it's a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Billy, do you mind just rejoining, because your sound has gone horrendous?
So yeah, it's an interesting. Yes, I see your point, because you not only have the scalable implementation with the adding, but you also have a scalable test suite, which is an interesting point.
But like I said, this is a thought experiment. This is not meant to be like a good idea or a bad idea. It's just a try. Can we hear you now, Billy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
So, any thoughts? Any other reflections? Any positive or negative takeaways from that one?
I found myself getting quite irritated on the second one.
That's something.
Yeah, it feels inefficient, but I thought it was it was interesting to see a different way of doing FizzBuzz after all this time.
We've lost Mark, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
He's just really rubbing his eye.
Oh,
yeah.
Let me just see if we can get him back, because he's sharing and recording. Oh, you're back.
Oh, he's back.
I'm back. Hopefully the recording will continue whilst I was away.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Okay. Have we got time for one more? Who's game for one more?
Yeah, why not?
He doesn't look convinced.
I might have to drop off. I'm feeling a bit done.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm up for it, but we've got to be done before the update at 12:30.
Okay, we can. Let's see how far we go. So, third attempt. Create a third attempt test. See you, Billy.
I think you're going to need to do that one, Tom.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Let's do new PHP class third attempt test. That's the test. Do we want it to extends test case? So there's our test. And now I want you, and we need a third attempt here. There we go. I think you have a class and a test.
Not yet.
Oh, you might need to
there we go.
There we go. Cool.
Right.
So you got everything there. So I'm going to give you FizzBuzz again, but we're going to do it differently. So are you familiar with the open close principle?
Oh, I knew this was coming.
Rory?
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
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 Is it worth us covering it for anyone that's watching?
Yes. So the open close principle is the idea that your code, your system should be open for extension, but closed for modification. So the idea is you write some code, but the code relies on abstractions or has config injected into it or whatever. That then means that if you want to change the behavior, you add new, you replace those abstractions with new implementations rather than going and changing what's already written. So that you obviously have to change something to add some stuff in. So what you might have is you might have a class that works in a certain way. It depends on a few other things, and it works in such a way. Now, if you want to change the way or add a new behavior to that, you don't rewrite that class. You just create an instance of that class with those dependencies swapped out with new dependencies. So the idea here is we're going to implement one feature first, and I don't know what that feature is. What should we go for? Should we go Fizz? Right. So we're gonna create a system. No, let's go. Okay. What should we do? Let's go Fizz. Right. So we want some tests, and you can do your normal TDD. So in each of these tests, we'll create a version of third attempt. We'll call FizzBuzz on a number with something divisible or a multiple of 3, and we want to get a fizz back. Shall we do the? Let's do the default case. So
Default case.
It just gives back a number. Yeah.
Okay.
So third attempt needs to be created, perhaps with some config or dependencies, and it will return a number. You don't write the fizz stuff, but you must write it in such a way that when we come to doing fizz, you cannot change third attempt anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So I suppose the way we do this is dependent on how I write the test, isn't it, really? I could, as Tom suggested, write a test that passes in some configuration that's used, or I could pass in a class that does something for us. So I
would also I will allow, making it work internally and refactoring to being extensible if you wish to do it that way as well.
Okay, cool.
So whatever, like it's only once you've finished this feature that you can't go back in and change it.
Okay.
Or change any of the collaborators that you've injected if you choose to inject other classes or anything. But you might just like some config. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to testing how we were testing in the first round. So 1 is returned a string. Back. So instance equals new third attempt, and then we want to this same 1. Rory, do you have any preference on whether we do this with config or injecting like in a collection of instances of something?
I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think will be easier to do.
So I'm just trying to think. So we could do something like pass in an array and say if it's divisible by 1. We could.
What, divisible by 1, or do you mean?
Yes. Well, I'm just trying. That's the thing. I'm trying to work out how to do the default. If that makes sense. See, I knew this was coming. I hadn't pre-thought it out. I saw it coming as well.
Tom's evil laugh.
I mean, I've got I have 2 thoughts.
So I could pass. You could pass in. I could pass in like a function and tell it what to do, because that allows me to,
I think the problem you have with that, though, right, is the 1. Yeah, because that's going to make this only work for 1, and you don't want to do that for everything. So I feel like basically we're going to pass a number in, and the result that comes back is going to be based on 1 or more rules.
Yeah.
So I think we can either pass in a class which is the rule, like a rule class, and that might become a composite one later, or we could pass in a list of rules, and then we could say, well, actually, what we care about here is what happens when none of the rules are matched. So maybe it's just an empty list. What's the? I'm. And then there's a question of like, should we? The fact that it converts to a string, should that be like some special strategy that could be swapped out, so it could be a different type, or do we just say, okay, let's hard code the fact that it always comes back as a string?
Yeah. That was kind of my thinking. Because the default is it always returns a string.
Mm-hmm.
So should the default behavior sit within the function? Yeah, if no more rules apply, then at least do this.
Okay.
Seems like the best thing, because then you can pass in as many rules as you want, but it will always do a single thing. So I'm going to pass in an empty array for now, and then that gives us scope for what we do next.
Yeah.
So Rory, over to you.
Okay.
Hang on, I've not run the test. Let's make sure my test fails. Yes.
So we would do the same public function FizzBuzz.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, there's some new syntax here because you'll need a constructor and properties on the class, which Rory might not be familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also we don't need them yet.
No.
So
you need to, because maybe it's okay without the constructor.
Yeah, I think it just ignores it for now.
Let's do return. Yeah, return string.
Or just 1.
Just 1 for now, yeah.
So, right, I don't even need to do that. Return 1. But it's not happy with semicolon. Okay.
Okay. So do you want to write next test?
Yeah. Let's be inventive and go for 2. That would help. Okay. Over to you, Mark.
Okay. So last time we went to 3, Tom commented that he'd do it at 2, so I'm going to do it at 2. So we will just return value.
You don't have to listen to me.
I mean, we also don't have much time left, so
no, indeed.
I was kind of speeding us through a bit. Okay, so that passes. So now we want to start looking at Fizz.
Yes,
So
I think at this point you're allowed the next feature.
Yeah. So that 3 is Fizz. Return Fizz. So 3 should be Fizz. But now I need to start passing in some form of a rule. So, I mean, I could just pass in a function. This seems really. So I could do something. So I could do something like if. And I'm not writing the logic here. It feels really dirty.
Yeah.
In the text.
I do not like that.
No, I don't like that either. So we could create a new class, and then test the. So I suppose, yeah. Well, if we're passing in the rules as classes, then you could do individual testing on each of the rules, and then all we're doing is testing the configuration in the FizzBuzz test, if that makes sense. So, Tom, could you please create me a new class called FizzRule? Thank you.
I'll create you a test
Test as well. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So at this point, where's third attempt? I'm going to comment out this test. Oh, I can just run tests individually. It's fine. Right. Okay. So where's FizzRule test and FizzRule? FizzRule.
So I'd argue that you would probably want to write something still in that test, in that other test.
Well, and have it failing.
Well, we could do it either way, right? We could write the rule now and decide to learn what the interface of this rule is, or we could decide the rule and like create a mock rule or pass in the FizzRule. Let's do what you're doing. Let's get this rule working and then work out what it does. Because
yeah.
So do we start with the FizzRule test then?
Yeah. So new test. So we'll test rule applied for 3. So rule equals new FizzRule. So I could do something like
what's the expectation there?
So I'm checking. So I'm saying, is that a typo? I don't know. It's no probably not there. So what I'm saying. So what I'm wondering is if the. So I'm kind of defining the interface a bit. We could do cert. I don't know. No.
I think you've got there's two different ways I can think of that do this. Is one is you have that applicable function like you have there, and then you just have another function that returns maybe the string that gets applied.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or
does it take an input? Does it take the current string and return it? I mean, the other approach I think is you just pass the number in and you just get back the string that needs to be added to the list. But
yeah, and it could be an empty string or not. I think that's probably a better way of. And then so I could just do something like check get string.
Or apply. It's a rule, isn't it? What you apply
the rule, yeah. It would be a same. It's run that. This is interesting on ping ponging. Should I hand this over to Rory to?
Yeah, I mean, we've got about 15 minutes left, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what I'm going to do is, shall I quickly dash through the setup of the test to get it to?
Sure.
Although I feel like I'm writing. So that doesn't work. That's it. So apply takes a value and a string return is so that should now pass, I think. Yes, it does. So we need to do I'm going to add one test for this. Okay. So rule not applied for 1. Oh, it does allow. Cool. That's so 1 should be empty string. Save. Yeah, failed. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to do, if I know I haven't got enough tests for this, value, going to go straight for it though. It's not equal divisible by 3. Oh, blimey heck. 0. Regard statement in. Return empty string.
So if that's green, which I hope it is it?
I think so.
Did it run? Oh, there we go. I know you've just been pressured by the product owner to get it done quicker.
Yeah, no.
But should we just to make that happy? Should we just for each of those 2 tests? Should we just add a second assertion? So maybe the first one just you can add a second test if you want, but you could just add. You could just
or just add 6 and things.
Just have a second assertion for 6 and the second assertion for 2 or 5 or something.
The product owner not wanting to write tests.
Something. We're encouraging rushed practices.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we've got a rule. So now I can.
It's funny that we've done the not equals 3 return this rather than the other way around.
Oh, really wants to speak to me. Okay, fizz rule. So we could do the same in here, really, couldn't we? We could do like,
Yeah, you do.
make it a bit better. 6 by 9 as well.
So here's a fun thing, and I know that we're a little bit rushed, right? But
yeah,
we are currently having to go and change third attempt on the second requirement.
yes.
Yeah. Which we weren't supposed to do.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that, Tom?
No, I thought we were allowed to, but after that we weren't.
Well, we started with it just returns the number, right?
Yeah.
Now we've gone into Fizz, but we didn't have enough in third attempt to allow us to be flexible. However, that's okay. Let's treat it as a special case. Let's see if we can do this.
Okay.
So if we were to pass in our buzz rule, then it would work.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
Okay. So now we need a constructor.
yeah, so in PHP, a constructor is a magic function, which is it's a function that's the function name starts underscore underscore,
Yeah.
and then it's underscore underscore construct,
Yeah,
which is a constructor.
Do you want to follow Rory,
You-
please?
Busy googling. Oh yes, sorry.
Googling in the background. But now now it's that. And what are we taking in?
So annoyingly we didn't create an interface.
Okay.
Bad
Yeah.
of us. So we should have had an interface really for
An array of
rules.
rules, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does PHP 8 got syntax for typing that?
I mean, I have no
can't
idea.
I don't know. I haven't used PHP 8 that much.
Rory, in which case, just put array. So inside that, just do array space dot rules.
Yeah. And we'll just pretend we were better and had interfaces and stuff.
Rules would be like that.
Yeah.
And then what do we do? Are we having like a this rules or something?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
So this is it like this rules? Rules like that, yeah.
Yep.
Dollar rules like that.
Yep.
Okay, and then do I need to do anything else?
To be good, you should define rules as a private parameter of the class.
There's a automatic.
But it does just magically happen, doesn't it?
Oh no, I can just do that. I can press
Okay,
the
yeah. Cool. Okay.
Okay. So now we need to use the rule.
Yeah.
So I assume the syntax for this is something like. Sorry. Is someone else typing?
button.
No.
My cursor is moving very strangely. This dot rules. Gonna be something like that.
So you need to loop over them. So you probably want to do for each.
Okay, so for each.
Dollar this rules as rule.
In
Yeah, in brackets. Sorry.
Brackets or parentheses?
Brackets. Yeah, parentheses. Sorry.
So this dot rules.
Okay, so in PHP, this dot is dollar this
Oh yeah, dollar this dot.
and an arrow instead of dot.
Okay, dollar this rules like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
As rule.
As
Dollar
rule.
rule.
Dollar rule. Sorry. Yeah. One of
Now
those things. Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And then I suppose what you could do is, if we go back to that, we're going to add to the string every time.
Yeah. So we wanted to, if I very quickly go, so we can do $, we could do this first.
Yeah.
And then what we do is
The rule and append it onto the result. So you can just do results
Yeah.
space dot equals. dollars. Sorry.
Dollar result dot equals
And then
then
dollar rule apply. Sorry, arrow apply. Always arrows in PHP.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, with the value.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. And then you'd need to do something like if result is empty string, then do the then set the result to be the value as a string.
Yeah. So if result, what if result?
Yeah, you could do so. You need parenthesis. So you could do if and then empty.
Oh yes, if empty results.
Yeah. Then result equals value.
Dollar again.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing. If the result dollar result equals and then we can return dollar result.
Yeah.
And I need a semicolon. Okay, so I don't know if that will work, but I'm hoping. Well,
I think it should.
and we got no syntax. Oh, it did. Okay.
Cool.
So, given the time restrictions, we've taken a few shortcuts there.
Yeah, we have.
We definitely haven't quite got the test coverage on third attempt here, and we've obviously only done the first rule. But
Yep.
I think I would be confident that if test coverage aside, and best practices aside, I'm confident if we were to create a new rule, then the Fizz rule, then it would work provided we put them in the right order.
Yeah.
We should have an interface probably because PHP supports them. So rather than we could type that as being a rule and then having an apply method signature in there.
So the interface would what be? The rule takes in a number and returns a string or something? Oh, and has apply?
Yeah, so if let me make you follow me.
No, actually, hang on. I don't,
Yeah, so if I go to the rule here, I can probably do like a extract interface. Captured in the name of it. Sorry, okay, there we go. So I'm trying to do the refactoring things. Let's extract thing, and we'll just call the interface rule. So there we go. So what you end up with, Rory, is that. So the interface looks like that. Oh, it's got a weird thing. And then our Fizz rule now implements the rule. So it's got to have a function that matches up to that.
Yeah.
And then in theory, our third attempt, this could be typed as an array of rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? We've got this 5 minute reflection and retro, and then we can call it today. Anything goes. Let's just talk it out.
yeah. So first attempt, I don't think I've ever anything to add other than I think I've done that 1,001 times. And I'm assuming also in different languages. And Rory, I'm assuming the same for you.
Yeah.
Second attempt was my first attempt at using a that property-based framework in any language. Quite enjoyed that. It was good. I do feel like I need to go away and play with it a lot more, especially as we've discussed it a few times on this. And yeah,
That's it. I mean, just to sort of interrupt you, Mark.
Yeah.
Sort of add to that. I think I had a very similar reaction. I found it quite. I mean, it was challenging at first, just because it's a different way of doing it. But I can see. I think Tom's point about making a more extendable test suite is very good. And you can see that, like initially, it's difficult. initially, just because I'm not used to it. But I can see why the approach, the merits of it.
So I've played with, I've used property tests quite a lot, but property-based testing TDD is a bit of an enigma. Like property tests are brilliant for many ways. They cover more things. They can find edge cases. They can be more descriptive of the problem. Hey, when I give it an int, that's divisible by 3, it does this thing, rather than hey, specifically 3 does this. So it's specification by property instead of by example.
Yeah.
But if you try and TDD it and you do little steps, it's hard to know which property to write next to take those little steps.
Yeah.
So my current take on it, after trying lots of different approaches, is that I use property-based tests when I feel they're useful to have, when they add something, but I still use examples to TDD stuff, but I might refactor a collection of examples down to a property at a later date. I've tried different katas with different sets of properties, and some of them just work, and some of them you just get in a tangle thinking, what is the next thing to write here? But definitely worth experimenting with. Maybe you'll get further with the TDD aspect than I have, but 100% they're useful tests to have. Even if they're not part of your TDD, or you do some examples and some properties or whatever, it's worth exploring.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely worth exploring.
I get it was a struggle, and I get that it might not be, something that you take away and want to do on everything, but that my intention was for it to be a thought experiment rather than something, the right way to do things or the new way to do things or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's also that, we probably should have started it more with a discussion rather than jumping straight into it, and maybe had a little bit of a planning. I don't know. Yeah, and then attempt number 3 was good fun. I was actually, whilst we were wrapping up and Rory was kind of writing that last bit of functionality, trying to work out if we could have put the default into a rule as well, and used I was sitting there thinking about some way of, you could rely on the fact that arrays in PHP are ordered, I think, and as long as you assign the default array, the default rule last, and you could have had something where you pass in the value and the string. Yeah. And not either rely on the fact that return it or just modify it in the function, which has been a bit nasty, but we could have done it with a bit more thought.
Yeah, I feel like we could have done the whole session just on that one, really, because I also think that it's interesting to try it without an array. You just pass a rule in, but then you develop, like, the first rule you pass in might be the default one. Then when you add the second one, you can't change the thing, but you also can't change the previous rule, right? So you have to create a new rule, which is a rule that takes a collection of rules and combines rules. And then you could have a concatenation rule, or you could have a rule that replaces, takes the first one, and you could get a lot more flexible with it. But we sadly didn't have time to fix that kind of stuff. What I did like about this, and I'm not sure if it was my intention or not, but what I did like about this was the first example was very much if else, and you've got to deal with all the conditions, right? So you have specifically to think about FizzBuzz, and like we talked about, if it was FizzBuzz bang, then it wouldn't be adding one new if statement, it would be adding one for every possible new combination, and it would get really long. So that it's not just the test extensible, it's that code is. So once you start growing above those 2 or 3 cases, like the string concatenation version works. And it was a bit of I guess I kind of prodded that direction a little bit with the property-based testing one, but I think it was interesting that the property-based testing, we ended up with that. And then when we came to the extensible version, the property-based one had, like, we used the same algorithm again, but we were replacing the if statements with rules that we were injecting in. So it was kind of like a progression. which I don't know if that was intentional or not. It might have subconsciously been intentional. But it also, you know, I was you know, kind of coming with the thing to see where it goes, see what we end up with. But yeah. Another question, and what about the format of just like trying the same thing different ways? Was it boring? Was FizzBuzz the killer? Or
just because of time, I wondered if we should have skipped the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have skipped the first one. I think like adding restrictions makes things exciting. I quite like it. We could have I think doing the progression, showing like here's a new restriction, was quite nice. But we could also do some maybe shorter videos where we just go, I want you to do this with, and the restriction is that.
Yeah.
You know, and just like, you know, like we could quite easily do this, as you were saying, the attempt number 3 with the open close principle. We could quite got away with doing an entire hour, maybe hour and a half on that. And that would be quite interesting. So, but yeah, thank you, Tom. It's a nice idea.
Yeah, sorry it's a bit chaotic, but we got there in the end.
It's fun with the chaos.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much. That was fun.
Thank you. Cool. See you all next week.
See you then. Bye.